Hello, fellow story champions. My name is Simon Brooks. Welcome to Lindyline, a story podcast. Here you will find old stories, some written by the likes of Kipling and Robert Louis Stevenson, E. Nesbit and Louise Saunders, as well as ancient folk tales and fairy tales, retold for a modern audience of families. There are also original short stories I've penned myself. I will be reading some of the classic folk and fairy tales, along with some other stories that you may not be so familiar with. I have been away in the south, all the way over and down in Tennessee, where the soil is a lot redder. There are more churches you can shake a stick at, it's a lot hotter, and the roads, well, they're like those in eastern Massachusetts. If you know, you know. And today, I got to go for a much-needed walk in the woods with Mo. The trail we took was very up and downy, and the roots stood out like veins on an angry person's forehead. I guess they've been exposed to all the rain that we've had this year. Moss covered the rocks in a stream, and the stream was just slowly trickling downhill, tickling the boulders as it passed. On the other side of the stream was a soft covering of bluebells, but the flowers were long gone, leaving a deep green rug tossed on the forest floor. As we cut out through the trees, I saw what I first thought was a red butterfly, but unlike anything I had seen before. It was bright red with green bits on it, and then I realized it was a falling leaf, one of the first fall leaves dropping down from a sugar maple. I didn't have my glasses on. It landed and leaned up against a very solid-looking panther cap mushroom, very poisonous. But then the leaf seemed to bend in half and open back out. I had Mo on a leash, as it was in a woods that I was not familiar with, and I held her close and we stopped. I put on my glasses to have a better look. It was a fairy, one of those tiny, flighty folks. It seemed to be having trouble with flying, and I wondered if it was newly born or freshly hatched, or however they come into the world. Mo and I stayed very still. Mo just sniffed the air, as if she could smell the magical creature. It stomped its feet, stood up straight, took a deep breath and tried again, to take off into the forest air. It fluttered and danced on its wings in the same way a newborn foal staggers and teeters on its long spindly legs on the ground, and then the fairy disappeared between the trees. I love capturing these moments and sharing them with you. Today I have a story for you that happened a long time ago. Well, I'm sure you know about foxes, right? Well, many years ago there were as many foxes as there are trees in the forest. And farmers had as many chickens as the foxes could eat, so of course those farmers had dogs to scare those foxes away. In this one neighbourhood, maybe it was near where you live today, the head dog was approached by a number of foxes. The head fox slinked over to the dog and said, "Brother dog, it seems all we do is keep fighting. There's got to be a better way to live." The dog nodded his head, but kept his thoughts to himself. "So me and the boys, we thought about this, and we reckon we could work together, us foxes and you dogs." The dog tipped his head to one side, but kept his counsel. "I bet you would love a chicken as much as we love chickens." "Yes, I do," the dog said. "But it's rare when I get given a bit of bird. The farmer sometimes gives me scraps." "Right. So what if you lay off the barking until we've got a few chickens, and as soon as we're gone, you can start barking then, and we'll leave a whole chicken for you, all plucked of feathers, waiting for you to snack on, and your friends. We'll put it in the hollow stump just over there." The fox pointed with its paw. The dog nodded, thinking to itself, and licked its chops. "Why not?" So the dog went off and told all the other dogs. From that time on, the farmers began to lose more chickens than they'd ever had before, and they became worried. By the time the dogs were barking and the farmers came to get the foxes were nowhere to be seen, and the farmers were losing their chickens, and that was not good for business. The farmers weren't the only ones to worry either. The chickens were worried too, and they decided to hold a conference. "We've been picked and picked and picked off, And it seems the dogs are in cahoots with the foxes. Foxes. We need to warn each other, said another chicken. But our voices aren't loud enough, said the first. Oh, the guinea fowl have loud voices. Maybe we could ask them to help us, said another. Beautiful idea. So the chickens went to the guinea fowl and asked if they would watch for foxes and warn the chickens. But we might get eaten too. You will once we're gone, so wouldn't it be better to help guard us? I suppose so, said the guinea hens. That night, while the dogs were pretending to watch, the foxes came into the farms and the guinea fowl began to scream, Foxes! 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 The farmers heard the squawking and wailing of the birds and ran outside to see the foxes. They were not too happy that the dogs were not barking and just watching what was going on. The dogs got a good scolding, so much so that they had to slink off on their bellies and got no supper that night. The farmers kept and looked after the guinea fowl from that day to this. They made great guards against foxes. That first night, however, those guinea fowl screamed so loudly and with such fierceness that their voices became hoarse, and still to this day their voices are sore. But if you listen carefully, you can still hear them calling out, Foxes! I love foxes, even if they are portrayed as scallywags. Do you like foxes? I suppose you might not if you keep chickens, like those farmers did. But like every other creature, they're just looking for food the best way they can. Do you know what a guinea fowl looks like? Maybe you could see if you could find one. What's your favourite animal? And why is it your favourite animal? Maybe you could draw it and send it to me at simon@diamondscree.com. Thanks for listening to Lindyline. I hope you enjoyed the episode. I will be back soon with some more stories and maybe a few poems. By simply subscribing, giving stars and telling your friends about this podcast helps. What helps more is leaving a review or starring on Podbean and Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to this, as it helps others find these stories, and it also helps me. Most podcasters have advertisers, and we don't. If you want to drop the price of a dog biscuit for Mo and the cost of a cup of tea for me, that would be lovely. It's hungry work out in the woods. You can also become a Patreon and pay as little as $1 to as much as you think it was worth. If you become a Patreon patron at www.patreon.com/Simon Brooks, you will get extra resources and other goodies too, including the occasional photograph or two of Mo, my wonderful rescue dog, and photographs of our adventures together. #InTheWoodsWithMo. You can find me on Instagram at Simon M. Brooks, which is also my Substack handle. Be well, be happy, and be you.